Hi, Terry here again. It's time for another Thursday Terry Talk. I'd like to talk about something that has changed so much in my life since I got into my mid-50s and am now 70. And that is my perspective has changed so much toward middle and later decades of life. You see, I suddenly bought into the idea that Western culture teaches that we change and we grow and we develop and we're transformed over and over again throughout our childhood, adolescence, and earlier adulthood. And then we reach maturity sometime in our middle years. And my opinion has changed so much of that through my own experience, through reading and studying and even writing a doctorate, that I realized that, yes, I reached maturity, but I reached earlier adulthood maturity. And that middle and later decades of life don't need to be life after maturity, after growth, after transformation. These years are incredibly potential filled for continuing maturing and transformation. And I call it adding two different stages of life. And I made up a name for the one stage. And now I believe that we go through 5 stages of growth instead of 3. We begin in childhood. And a child begins as a very immature child, we could say, and then around 6th grade, we expect that child to become a mature child. Not a mature human being, not done, but a mature child. At which point, generally, hormones kick in and societal expectations change, and they become an immature adolescent. And they go through that phase and full of transformation and human development, and the mind changes, and of course all the emotions and relationships change and so on. And throughout that adolescence, a person is transformed from a mature child to a mature adolescent or an immature young adult. They're a young adult. They're ready to launch into that phase. And young adulthood, we expect to be full of transformation and growth as well. There's family life, there's career, there's leadership, there's building self-esteem, there's accumulating stuff. There's a whole series of things that we learn to do when we grow and develop. And then we move into our middle decades on the average. For me, it occurred somewhere around in my 50s, where we reach maturity, but it's maturity in that earlier adulthood stage. It comes to a point where, I've built up some self-esteem, I have some leadership skills, I've accumulated stuff, I know what it means to be loyal, I'm certain about things, all kinds of things that I've reached maturity. And I remember asking somebody, quite seriously, as I was pondering the idea of moving beyond career life, is there life after retirement from career? And it was a serious question, because for me, life means growth. It means learning new things. It means expanding and experiencing new things beyond retirement life, the recreation and reward. And I've decided and experienced, and after studying and reading so many people, that not only is there childhood, adolescence, and younger adulthood, there's also something I called half-adolescence. It's like a second adolescence, but it's a time of intense change, of transformation that can happen in our middle and later, sometimes decades of life. And a 4th phase, half-adolescence, that gives us a second way of living in adulthood. So I now see that when I retired at 55 from career life, that I was half done growing. I had been through childhood, adolescent, younger adulthood, but I was just entering now my half-adolescent time and a second half adulthood. It's like, that actually got me so excited that there were more places to go, there were expansions to experience, there was life beyond where I was, new ways of seeing, new ways of, in my tradition, new ways of following Christ in the way of Jesus, new ways of relating to people, new ways of dealing with stuff that we'd accumulated. So I'm probably through adolescence, and I'm a fledgling second half of life adult. I've been at it for a while, but still feel sometimes like I'm coloring with big crayons. I'm figuring out what it means to live in this second way. But what a change to say, okay, I'm done. I'm done. I'm going to retire now. I'll play some golf. I'll travel. I'll have all kinds of freedom to read different stuff and so on. And saying, okay, I'm through my younger adulthood, through career life. I've accumulated. I've figured things out. Now it's time to go into adolescence and begin another time of intense change and move into a second way of living as an adult. And my models have emerged in surprising ways. My models now for this second way of living as adult are what we've called mystics and sages and saints. We've had all these different names for them. And in politics, we used to call them statesmen, elder statesmen. And my tradition, the church, we quite often called them elders, but not just ruling elders, really elders in the church, people that had a bigger perspective and so on. So I wonder where you are. And I'd like to stretch you. And I'll talk about this in the upcoming Thursday morning talks, the different ways we can expand as we enter into adolescence. That maybe what we have been calling mature in the 50s, 40s, 50s, 60s, a mature adult, maybe we need to change the term to say, no, this is a mature first half adult, pre-adolescence adult. That there's more growth and learning and expansion and wondering to happen. It's certainly made my future, my middle and later decades of life, exciting, expectant. I can't wait to see what I learn and am transformed into next. And I just wonder where you are. Are you still in that earlier adulthood where you're going out to what society would call a mature, certain adult? Maybe you're feeling like, yeah, I'm done with something, but I'm not done growing yet. Maybe you're entering into what I call adolescence, a second adolescence. Exciting, transforming, disruptive, confusing, all those things we might describe adolescence as. What about going through a mature adolescence? We'll talk about that more in the upcoming Thursdays. Have a great day.